32 years. It's been 32 years since Alec Baldwin uttered his famous line, "Coffee is for closers," in the movie Glengarry Glen Ross. In that famous scene, a team of salesmen blame poor leads provided by marketing for their underwhelming performance, until their new leader urged them to stop complaining and take responsibility for their results. Despite the rise of the internet, mobile phones, digital ads, and now AI, somehow we are still having the same argument over who gets the Glengarry leads. Nearly 2/3 of sales and marketing say there's a lack of alignments between their department, according to Forrester's Sales and Marketing Alignment Survey. But hey, it's not all sales' fault. Sales blames marketing for bad leads. Marketing blames sales for poor follow-up. Both teams suffer. So how can you finally bridge the costly gap? I'm Benjamin Shapiro, and joining me today is Kelly Hopping, the CMO of Demandbase. And today, Kelly will reveal the secrets to creating sales and marketing alignment that drives measurable growth. Kelly, welcome to the MarTech podcast.
Thanks. It's great to be here. I appreciate you having me.
Very excited to have you on the show and excited to talk about a problem that is not necessarily something new. I mentioned in the open, sales, marketing, we seem to be at odds, and it's lasted for, I don't know, multiple decades. Is the concept of sales and marketing alignment actually achievable? Is that a thing where both teams could peacefully coexist?
100%. I think it's I've worked in companies where it's worked really well. I've worked in companies where it hasn't. And usually it comes down to being super, super intentional about it. Whether it's around the metrics that you measure together, the way that you show each other respect in meetings, the way that you enable your teams to partner together, the way that you listen. I think all of those are solvable. So for sure.
Isn't there some sort of healthy tension between the two organizations? It just seems like whenever there's that handshake and it seems like marketing is evaluated on one metric and dependent on sales or vice versa, uh, there's got to be some level of maybe healthy conflict that, I don't know, gets things moving.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, I think that the healthy conflict has to be grounded in trust, though, right? It's hard to push back on somebody and a team and how they're performing if you don't have an underlying trust that we're all in this game together and that we're all here to grow the business. And so that means that we should be able to push each other in the right way. I should be able to push my CRO and say, hey, we've got 74 completed meetings that were approved to move forward that your team is sitting on not converting to pipeline. I've got SDRs not getting paid on that pipeline because your guys are not managing their Salesforce instances. Like, that's something. Hey, I've given you guys, I've like, for instance, one of our things is we have for our pipeline, we have a certain percentage expected to be worked by the SDRs, who in our case report into marketing, and then we have a certain percentage of the pipeline expected to be created by sales. And there are times when the SDRs are killing their results and sales isn't as much. There's other times when sales is killing it and the SDRs are failing. We need to have a relationships where I can be like, hey, we're the guy doing our job. I need your team to be the one doing theirs as well. Or vice versa. Hey, we are struggling to drive expansion pipeline, for example. We need help. Like, how can we better partner? How do we do daily scrums? How do we do something? But it's all because we're aligned to pipeline. What they don't care about is if we start talking about leads, if we start talking about responses, start talking about engagement, they're kind of like, wah, wah, like they have zero interest in that. But if I can say, I want to get you qualified pipeline and they have to physically accept it, right? The way systems work, we can create the lead, we can create the meeting, we can create the confirmation that it was a completed meeting, but sales has to be the one that grabs it and converts it over to pipeline and actually calls it. My team only is motivated by pipeline. The rest of this stuff is just leading indicators for troubleshooting. So if I can create pipeline, that's what they need. They need enough coverage of that to hit their number. And so we all have a vested interest in pipe. At the end of the day, growing pipeline is the biggest thing we have for them to hit their bookings number, for me to hit my targets, for our SDRs to get paid, for our sellers to get paid. And so if we're not doing that, then we have a problem. And so aligning on that one metric is the biggest driver of all.
If I'm reading back what you're saying, there's an alignment on metrics and making sure that the marketing metric is a comfortable handoff to sales. We are trying to drive pipeline. You're responsible for taking pipeline and converting it. We're looking at the same metric that is being evaluated in the handshake. You're also sort of inferring that there's a camaraderie, team, like there's a interpersonal conversation that has to happen between teams that is part of the underlying problem. Tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah, for sure. So one, I think I'll say leadership wise, I think is super important. So I can't expect my demand gen or performance marketing team and my SDRs to work nicely with the sellers if I'm not working nicely with the CRO. So me and the CRO need to be in lockstep. It means that one, we truly respect each other and have good one-on-one conversation and respect for each other's roles, but that we also set the example in the way that we support each other to our teams. So if I'm in a meeting with my marketers and they say, if sales would just, I'm like, like, we're not going there. That sounds like you're pointing fingers. I don't have any interest in that. Tell me the situation, and then we will figure out the solution. Like, it's almost like a very intentional, like, back up and say, hang on, we are not blaming, we are all one team. I've told my team from the beginning, I said, your number one goal is to make sales love you. And what that means, and that's my entire team, that's not just growth marketing.
Hmm.
So, and I say that because I say all of sales needs a brand that they believe in, that they can tell a story about. Sales needs qualified pipeline that they can actually go close. Sales needs easy messaging that they can defend. They need competitive differentiation. They need pricing and packaging that's simple and makes sense. They need air cover in the market through comms or through PR or through new product releases. They need a land and expand strategy so they know what to sell to who and when. Like, they need those things. If we do all of those things, sales will love us. And so if you keep in mind that your goal is to make sales life super easy, then we will have a good working relationship here.
It seems like there's two concepts here. One is that sales is marketing's customer, right? You are
For sure.
trying to provide enough qualified pipeline and enough tools and resources for sales to close the deal. Your job is to make sales happy.
Yep.
And I'm sure that there are marketers out there that are like, no, no, sales is our customer. Like, we get the customers and their job is to close them.
Yes.
Again, we're sort of in this like headbutt of this tension between the two of like who's responsible for what. And yes, there is a handshake between the two of them. And I have to bust your chops a little because one of the things you said was, hey, marketing, it sounds like you're blaming sales. But literally, the title of your book is Yes, It's Your Fault. Yes,
How do
it's,
you read that?
yeah, yes, it's your fault, right?
How do you read that? Is it, "Yes, it's your fault," like the book telling me, "Hey, Kelly, settle yourself. It's your
I'm
fault."
assuming that you wrote it not like, yes, Kelly, it's your fault, as in I'm saying you did it, but yes, it's your fault, as in looking internally. It's my fault. I made
It's
the
a little bit
mistake.
of both. It's kinda cheeky all the way around. We actually, if you look at the cover, we actually cross out the "Y,"
Uh huh.
and it says, "Yes, it's our fault." Like, it's us together. It's
Okay.
sales marketing.
All
So it's a
right.
little bit of a play of, like, it's my fault, it's your fault, it's our fault, like, we need to solve this together. It's not one or the other.
Well, let's talk a little bit about how to divide up the blame pie, right? There's this handshake in the beginning, marketing and goes and gets the leads and builds the brand and gets somebody to the front door, hands them over to sales, and whatever the results are sort of out of our hands. How do you avoid that it's your fault mentality as opposed to no, it's our fault? How do we get together and sort of build that camaraderie and that connective tissue from initial brand impact to, customer closing and retention?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that we do on a regular basis is, so we have a funnel review every week. It has been rebranded. When I got here, it was called Pipeline Warriors. And you can imagine the mindset when you walk into a meeting called Pipeline Warriors. It sounds like you're there to fight. We changed it to Pipeline Builders, and now we just have funnel review because it was kind of going all over. But essentially, what it is it's meant to be very factual. Where is the leakage? Where are we breaking down? What's happening? Okay, so our SQLs are up, but our conversion rate to pipe is down. Where's the quality on that? Who's like, what does our band look like for these guys? How are we qualifying them as SQLs? Why aren't these meetings happening? Why is sales sitting on this? Why isn't marketing bringing more of these? And we literally pick apart, and it's sales leadership, it's marketing leadership sitting there, and rev ops. And it's literally a data conversation. And one thing that we've done here, and I don't know if I recommend it for every company, but it works really well here, is our rev ops team, which is marketing ops plus sales ops, sits together and they report into finance. They don't report to me or to the CRO. And part of that is because we didn't want it to be her data and his data, my data and your data, marketing data, sales data. We wanted it to be a neutral data body. And ops doesn't have skin in the game of like my boss or your boss. Instead, they sit neutral. And so then when we say, hey, and they'll look at it up, objectively and say, hey, this is what we're seeing as the gap. This is where things are falling apart. Looks like, hey, Kelly, it looks like you're hitting your marketing goals and your SDRs are converting on new business, but they're struggling on expansion. Hey, CRO, it looks like your expansion guys are doing great, but your new business guys are phoning it in. Okay, well then let's figure out where we need to solve that. Is it an enablement issue? Is it a training issue? Do we have the wrong profile in seat? And so we work through those things, but it's kept at a pretty high level in the meeting because we don't want it to be tit for tat, kind of like your guys aren't doing their job. Who's this sales rep? What's he doing? Why are his numbers down? Like we don't want it to be that. We want to be like, hey, we need to solve the macro issues here.
That's a good sort of organizational hack to take the infrastructure and reporting away from both of the organizations so they are not, hey, I brought, my lawyer and he said this and your
Yes,
lawyer
exactly.
says that and they disagree and now we're in a fight. It's the judge said we need to do this.
Exactly,
Tell
exactly.
me tell me more about your thought process for organizational structure to drive that alignment. You're pulling the operational piece out of
Mhm.
sales and marketing and giving it some sort of independence so it doesn't become territorial. I think you said SDR is under marketing. Like there's a couple different ways to structure a team. What do you think is the right way to drive maximum alignment?
Yeah, I think, we moved the SDRs to my team about a year ago. And, I've been a CMO 4 times. I'm probably 50-50 on when I've had the SDRs versus when I haven't. And I love having them in marketing because they're such a continuation of pipe gen, right? So they take any of our programming. Because what was happening when I first got here, I didn't have the SDRs. And so I was held accountable to pipeline, but my influence stopped at lead. And so I was like, "Hey guys, I need you to create pipeline over there in sales. Like, all I can do is drive leads, and now I'm waiting for y'all to all do your jobs." And that was tough. And so I said, "Hey, if I'm going to be held accountable to pipeline, then I need the guys who are creating pipeline, who are actually catching all of this marketing activity and converting it." So we moved the SDRs over, and that has worked out beautifully. And they worked really, really closely. They're in kind of one-to-one pods with our AEs and with our account directors. And they partner with them and they meet one on one and say, okay, what accounts are you working? Like, what are you going after this week? Hey, I just had a good call with this. Can you have this meeting? And they kind of work one to one through that. And that's been really helpful. But they also are connected to our programming. So they're building email cadences that are aligned to the marketing campaigns. They're building, they know that if we have a big event coming up, they're going to drive an outbound campaign tied to that. So it really helps that they're part of marketing. So that's one. Like I said, we have RevOps sitting independent. And then the way I have my demand gen team set up, I have them as I have global demand. And these
Mhm.
people, they go after what I'll call our ICP. So they're going after kind of everybody that fits in that sort of ICP definition. So they're going to be doing all of our digital, so paid media. They're going to do global campaigns. They're going to run a global webinars. They're going to do a lot of that kind of stuff. Um, all kind of paid media stuff. So they're going to do that. And then I have a field marketing team, and field marketing is both kind of field in terms of regional, and segment, but also ABM. So they run all of our kind of one to one and one to few campaigns, and they're aligned to the sales force. So they're aligned to new business and growth. They're aligned to East Coast and West Coast, enterprise and mid market, so that they map and they have a counterpart on the sales side. And so when we said it's me and the CRO are aligned, our head of new business sales is aligned to and our head of customer sales, both aligned to my SVP of growth. And then I have field marketing managers at each of those other segments that align with each of the sales teams. And so what that allows is them to sit in those staff meetings with the mid-market new business team and say, okay, what do y'all have going? What accounts are you going after? These are the programs we're running. You can offer this, finance executive CMO roundtable we're doing in Chicago this week. Like, that's your offer. Here's the email cadence. Here's whatever. And then the AEs are able to run those programs. So that's kind of how we have teams aligned. And then we just actually pulled out a separate customer marketing team that does nothing but customer. And that's everything from cross sell and upsell to advocacy and retention and speaking engagements and all that kind of stuff. And and I'm optimistic it's a brand new thing, but it was because we were thinking we're kind of getting hybrid. We're sort of forcing marketing programming for new business that could work for customer, be interesting for customer, but not targeted for customer. And we kind of said, we need to go directly at existing customers with the content they need.
Yeah. I don't know why my head went this direction, but as you're talking about the alignment between sales, it seems sales and marketing, it seems like there's great balance, right? When I have a VP on the marketing side, I need a VP for them to talk to on the sales side. Um, and I was thinking of like, okay, so your demand generation team is like the Air Force and they're flying over and carpet bombing and like clearing a path. And then your field marketing team is like the army that's like rushing in and has strategic missions. But on the flip side, you need like the Navy and the Marines to be able to make sure that there's like places for the planes to land.
Oh, I love this analogy.
There
Yes,
you
this is
go. This
keep it
is,
going. I like
you
this.
know, why podcast hosts get paid the big bucks. But it seems like there's not only an alignment, but there is this notion of takeoff and landing between these organizations on both side of the sales and marketing fence. And then I'll throw in that I was thinking, okay, well, how would I play this for the new customer team that you created? And I'm like, oh, that's like the National Guard. Like somebody's got to protect the home turf.
Protect the homeland. Yeah, there
Yeah.
you go.
Anyway,
Good. That's great. Okay, I'm gonna do a whole military. I bet I can build a whole visual. That seems like a good slide for my next all hands.
I'm
I like.
sure we could just throw it into GPT and create a
Oh,
graphic for. There you go.
yes.
Hey, you've got your next internal presentation. Talk to me a little bit about the difference when you're targeting. I know you're an ABM company to oversimplify what demand base is, um, and you obviously have some ABM practices. How do you think about the alignment between sales and marketing at the various stages of company growth when you're thinking startup,
Mm.
mid market, and enterprise?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a great question. It's kind of why I'm in a mid-market company now. I don't think I was very good at it in an SMB company, or a startup before I got here. I think there's a certain kind of, one scrappiness that comes in sort of a smaller organization and the ways you have to go after. Marketing to me carries a much bigger responsibility in driving pipeline for smaller companies. So for instance, with the right budget, I can generate 100% of pipeline if I'm going after SMBs, because I can target them individually. Mid-market, marketing is probably driving 60% of the target, and sales maybe 65, sales picking up the other 30, 35. And then for enterprise, like, marketing can kinda get to maybe 25, and then sales has to really lean in. It's such a relationship play. It's a long game. It's a lot more than just now. Marketing influences 90% across the board. We touch every deal that comes in. But I do think our responsibility varies basis on the size of the company, which means you also need to vary your expectations with the team. So the way we set goals, for instance, like I have to drive a lot more pipeline for new business than sales does. Sales has to drive a lot more pipeline with existing customers because they're the account rep who's talking to the customer every single day. So there's that trade-off. And then I think and that alignment means that we need to align on those numbers. That means within new business, I might say, hey, that's an average of I need to drive 60%, but that means I'm driving 80% for mid-market and maybe only 30% for enterprise. But the average is that for all new business pipeline, um, I need to drive 60% of it. So I think there's some of that too. There's kind of an understanding and an acceptance of what we're all expected to do. Now, the challenge on it is that if you don't just all together say we all own pipeline, what ends up happening is you can all of a sudden draw this line out that's like, well, we all own pipeline. We missed, but my guys hit their number. Did you guys hit yours? Like, I don't think so because we missed. And so some of that, like, can get really snarky. And so part of it is kind of back and be like, no, 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 it doesn't matter who hits. The mix is only for troubleshooting. So we can say, hey, looks like our sales guys are missing, or looks like our SDRs are missing. Let's go find out why so we can help enable them to be successful. But at the end of the day, we all just own pipeline.
Yeah, it seems like that's the secret is that universal metric everybody is responsible
Yeah.
for. But then again, that leads to like, well, we did our job, you know? Again, this is not a problem it's not new. What I think is new is some of the technology and the ways not only that we align our organizations, but how we think about getting the alignment. Talk to me about the tech stack to right size and align your sales and marketing, and how has that changed over time?
Yeah. I mean, I don't wanna do the obvious shameless plug, but I will say that we run demand base on demand base, as you can imagine. Demand base is account-based go-to-market. And so to me, the epitome of account-based is sales and marketing alignment, right? It's making sure that the accounts that marketing is targeting are the same accounts that are on sales target account lists that they're going after, right? So,
Appropriate shameless plug and totally inbounds. Keep going.
Okay, thank you. But yeah, but so, when we run our one-to-one or one-to-few ABM plays, they are against our agreed upon target account list within sales and marketing. Same thing, we have a customer target account list that we also go after. And so that drives some alignment. So demand base is a big part of that. The other things that we plug into that, obviously, demand base integrates with, the rest of the tech stack, the Marketo and the Workato and Tableau, and we use, and outreach and kind of all the different things, qualified, you name it. We connect them all together, and then we kind of automate all the hooks that go through. But really, the goal is for us to align on accounts around one tech, use demand base to drive those. When they get over to the sales side, our SDRs tend to use demand base as their sort of catch. All the insights are coming in through demand base. They're outbounding through outreach. We have demand base in the iframe of outreach, so they're able to see those insights, but still work in their single platform. And then it goes over into sales, and sales uses a combination of Gong and Clary and Salesforce to manage, but all of them are getting the demand based data inside that platform. So we're still running the same through line, and I think that's one. Again, not to do a shameless plug, but I think one of the big benefits of demand base is it connects all that data. So you have one single stream of insights that are connected across your whole go to market ecosystem. And that's how we run it. And of course, we weave AI through all of this. I got lots of tech stack of that I could talk about, but specific to your question, those
It
are the
wouldn't
ones.
be a MarTech podcast if we didn't bring up AI at some point in the conversation.
That's
Tell me how you're using AI in the sales and marketing alignment.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest area we're exploring AI is in the SDR universe. We now are sort of running four platforms. I don't know if this is like proprietary data, but we're running four platforms in our SDR team. So we use Piper, which is the from Qualified.
Mhm.
We use Qualified for web chat, but we use Piper specifically for meeting scheduling. When the SDRs get in touch, then Piper sort of takes off and starts scheduling the meetings. We use Nooks as an auto dialer, which has really helped increase our volumes. Connect rate maybe slightly down, but the absolute number of meetings coming out of it up quite a bit because of the volume increase. It's been great. We use Clay in limited capacity, but mostly to augment our data, to make sure that to round out any data profiles to make it easier for our SDRs to outbound. And then we use Reggie, which is our new favorite. And Reggie
I'm new to
is
Reggie. Who's Reggie?
yeah, Reggie AI, pretty small company, but pretty awesome. So Reggie is they basically do all follow-up. So they automate and personalize a follow-up to every single MQL that comes through the system, every single website visitor that comes through the system. When we lead list, we have an event and we load a lead list after of all the people that came by the booth. It automates emails straight out of that. And so it's kind of the first one where it felt like we are supplementing the SDR's like burdensome kind of heavy lift workload so much that we don't need to continue to grow. We can actually hold our SDRs to higher and higher goals because we're able to offload some of the monotony. So Reggie is my new favorite, and I sit there and play with it all the time to kind of figure out what we can do, what we can automate, how many workloads we can add, and I think that's going to be the future of where this whole SDR universe is going. So
Yeah, it sounds like a dream. I think that the big thing I've learned through a lot of the AI orchestration and implementation is there is an integration cost, right? You have to go through and you're essentially, instead of hiring more, you're bringing on AI, but you still have to put the same amount of work in to get the AI
yes,
to have the context and to understand the boundaries and rules. And so it does require a fair amount of work to get that,
yeah.
consistency that you need.
Yeah, there's a little bit of a heavy lift at the beginning. What we kinda see ourselves as, because we run demand base and the whole tech stack, we sort of see ourselves as customer zero for the integrated tech stack. So when we plug things into demand base or we're running Reggie, we integrate it with demand based data. We sort of work out all the kinks and then say, should we build this integration into our core platform that we sell to our customers? And so we end up being sort of the flagship testing ground of all the things. And so far, so good in terms of being able to have a pretty seamless integration with Reggie and being able to turn it on. So excited to see how that could possibly go and get integrated into our platform as well.
Yep, you have to taste the wine before you put it in the bottle.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, I want to move on to our lightning round where I'm going to ask you a couple of MarTech related questions specifically around our weekly topic, which is marketing and sales alignment. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. What is the number one thing marketers do that drives sales absolutely crazy?
Talk about leads.
Leads.
Leads. Yeah, they don't care about leads. They want
Yeah.
pipe. Yeah.
It's not the fist fight of we did our job and you did yours. It's just, hey, the leads and this is what matter. Why is leads such a thorn in the
Well,
side for sales?
if marketing's primary goal is leads, then sales is like, you can buy lead lists. You can get leads from anywhere, and they're total crap, right? They want qualified pipeline that actually has the right time, the right buyer, the right message, the right need state, the right use case. Like they have a budget and an appetite to buy. Like they have to be fully qualified. So we talk about leads. It's basically a shorthand for sales being like, oh, good job doing getting leads. Like now we can, like it'd be great if you could finish doing your job to get it to a place where we could actually work it. So I
Yeah.
think it's probably the same argument. But when you start talking about leads, they sort of roll their eyes until you get up funnel to pipeline or to get down funnel to pipeline. And then they're like, okay, now I'm listening.
Yeah, it's basically the leading indicator that they're like, I don't care until I see that it has converted into something I could sell to. Congratulations, you got website visitors and leads.
Yes, I was
Whoop-de-doo.
about to say, like, but we had 3 million impressions on our website. They're like, "Oh, congratulations.
Yeah.
Like, that doesn't do me any good. I need pipeline."
All right, sales, relax. We're getting there. The leads will mature. Just trust us
That's
on
right.
this
They're
one.
coming. They're
All right,
coming.
here we go. What's the best tip for a new CMO working with a skeptical, marketing resistant sales leader?
I would say that's the most important relationship they should focus on building. I think when a new CMO gets there, they wanna meet and greet across the whole company, get to know all the sellers, marketers, product, finance, everything. I would have a spend a disproportionate amount of time with the sales leader. And I would align, as we've talked about, like align on what is the number one thing you and I need to solve together. And that one thing is pipeline. Every time it's pipeline. And so if you can align on like that we're all driving to the same thing, I think that the way they're skeptical is because they've heard somebody have leads. They've heard a CMO do a rebrand, right? Like us CMOs all come in and we like to do a rebrand and it seems like it's just like fluffy, like whatever. And they're like, no, 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 I need pipeline. And I think if you can get to the core of that issue, I think the other one is being willing to spend time in the data with that sales leader. Like if you can sit side by side, go through the data and be really, really sort of open book about where are we failing, where are we succeeding, I think you immediately um, build trust and authenticity and really and kind of value with your CRO, which I think is super important.
We talked a little earlier about sort of positioning marketing to be in service of sales goals. And it seems like when you're working with a marketing resistant sales leaders, having them understand that you look at marketing's role as supporting them and bringing them the things they need to be successful, that's a nice way to be like, I'm here to help you, as
Yeah.
opposed to I'm going to do my job, you do yours, and maybe we'll meet in the middle.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. I think aligning on that intention is super important. And by the way, that doesn't mean that every single thing I'm going to do is going to be a direct correlation to pipeline. I'm not going to over index to everything I do as the bottom of the funnel, but it does mean that everything I'm doing is in service of growing pipeline eventually. So if I need to fix the brand, if I need to fix positioning, if I need to run a PR strategy, if I need to fix the website, any of those things, all of those are with the ultimate goal of helping sales be successful. And I think, yeah, that education, that alignment is really, really important.
Next question. How do you avoid over indexing on short term demand generation goals that risk the overall health of your brand?
Mm. Yeah, it's that's a tough one. I think the reality, and you'll hear that, right? We have this challenge all the time when we're doing budget planning, when we're doing annual planning. There's a lot of like, I can get you the pipeline you need right now, today, but that funnel is going to be emptied out real quick, right? And if you're not continuing to fill the top of the funnel, then you have less and less falling out the bottom. And so if you start optimizing for just converting that bottom of the funnel, you really lose the volume coming in at the top, meaning like you have to continue to do thought leadership, you have to continue to do brand investment, continue to do sort of corporate wide events or whatever it is, because that's the only way you can continue to get the top line. Again, I think it varies based on business. Like sometimes in SMB, you can be super transactional. The brand part is less important because it's just about serving a functional need.
Right.
And I think those you can get away with it. But when you're talking about like a piece of software that could cost hundreds of thousands of dollars and could be a multi-year commitment, and you need, and it's going to have your data in it, and it's going to drive your go-to-market decisions and drive where you spend money in media, like you probably want to make sure that that your brand is well trusted. And so those are the things where I think we constantly look at the full funnel and say, what percentage of the budget do we need to spend up here, 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 to make sure that we are driving enough pipeline, but that we're not drying up the top.
Yeah, the balance of demand creation and demand capture, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of like a bank account, right? You have to put money in, you can't always withdraw. And yes, you could focus on taking as much money out so you can buy all the things, but if you're not investing, if you're not putting back in, eventually you go marketing bankrupt, and obviously that's not something that serves sales either.
Well, and I think brand today has gotten so sophisticated that you can do brand marketing that still drives a CTA. It still drives a conversion of some sort. So even if you're advertising your brand, which feels upper funnel, through like follow like through QR codes or through form fills or through great piece of content or links in the whatever it is, like you can drive demand through. Brand used to be just like big billboards, and it was just about remembering
The
your
pretty
name.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, now with the world being so digital, you can connect brand and demand pretty seamlessly, and so you can fill the top while still optimizing for the bottom at the same time.
All right, last question I have for you. If you could wave your magic wand and implement just one alignment tactic for every B2B company tomorrow, what would it be?
It sounds so basic. I would say, um, I was gonna say I'd say weekly funnel reviews, would be the number one. I think but you asked for one, but my second, even though you didn't ask for one, would be CEOs holding their CMOs to pipeline, period. Like, that would be the only thing, and I would make sure, I'm just gonna forget the one. I'm now on, like,
Talk
3.
it talk it out. Let's go.
Okay.
You can work your way down to one. It's fine.
My other one would be is that you have to have a counterpart in sales that owns pipeline as their metric. I think that's the biggest thing. When you are held for pipeline, I hit a wall this year, and I am now off of lightning round. Is that I was realizing that I was held to pipeline. The SDRs were sitting in another organization and held to SQLs, and then sales was held to closed one. And I was like, there's no one on the other side of the fence who owns pipeline. So who in the world is gonna help me partner to make sure it happens? And it wasn't. So we moved the SDRs over, and we changed their goals to SQLs and pipeline. So we said, "Okay, if your goal is pipeline, my goal is pipeline, sales has a pipeline goal, then we're all driving towards that." So having one shared metric on both sides of the aisle, that's my one thing.
I'm going to answer your question after having talked to you for a half an hour of the one thing that you would do to wave your magic wand. There's a great sense of balance in everything you're talking about with how marketing and sales work together, right? There's a handshake, and we are looking at the same metric when something goes over the fence from sales. We get all the way to pipeline with our marketing efforts, and then sales starts with pipeline and goes to close one. And to be able to use that metric and have that sort of balance of we connect at the same point, it
Yeah.
needs to be equally weighted on both sides. You need a VP of field marketing that is working with your ABM sales, whatever the organization is. But basically, it's sort of similarly structured organizations on both sides that make things feel aligned and actually balanced. There is connective tissue between the organizations. How's that for putting words in your mouth?
Yes, I like your one thing.
That's
Yeah,
that's
I like that.
which is, in fairness, like three or four things, but the questions aren't perfect either.
Yes.
All right.
Abs
Well, I think we've landed the plane here on we need balance for us to have marketing and sales alignment. And I appreciate you coming on the MarTech podcast and telling us a little bit about how we find that sort of perfect weight between the sales and marketing team.
Absolutely. I mean, we're figuring it out every day. So it's we're still humans in the process, right? It's not that you can use metrics and dashboards and meetings to solve. Like you still have to be as humans, show up with the right intention, show up as a partner, show up as a good human being. And that'll help too. I think those are kind of really required steps.
In the age of AI, turns out being human still really matters. And that wraps up this episode of the MarTech podcast. Thanks to Kelly Hopping, CMO of Demandbase, for joining us. If you'd like to contact Kelly, you can find a link to her LinkedIn profile in our show notes or on martechpod.com. You can visit her company's website, which is demandbase.com. She's also the host of the Next Gen CMO podcast and also the co-author of the book, Yes, It's Your Fault. All right. And if you haven't subscribed yet and you want a daily stream of marketing and technology knowledge in your podcast feed, hit the subscribe button in your podcast app or on YouTube, and we'll be back in your feed next week. That's it for today. But until next time, my advice is to just focus on keeping your customers happy.